Hello, welcome back. I hope you did your quiz and you got it right. Now, over the past, or rather since we started treating requests and all of that, we've been looking at HTTP as Hypertext Transfer Protocol. However, we're going to look at a different kind, which we call WebSockets. Right. Now, WebSockets are like a phone call that stays open. Like your HTTP, it sends letters, a sending letter, it's liking to sending letters. But for your WebSocket, it's like making a phone call. For instance, you make a call to your mom, and then your mom takes the call. Your mom is open on her end, and you're open on your end, and then she speaks, and immediately you can hear her. So this is what the WebSocket is like. Now let's look at some differences between the both of them closely compared. For HTTP, it has a request response pattern. For WebSocket, it has a persistent two-way connection. Now the HTTP is stateless, each request is independent. But for WebSocket, it has a full duplex communication. For HTTP, it is not ideal for real-time communication. Let's say you need a real-time communication. Your go-to should be the WebSocket. And when you need your chat, you want to develop a chatting app, maybe whatsoever nature with Django, you're sure going to work with WebSockets. Now you want to do your live notification or real-time notification, your live data, your go-to should be WebSocket. So in case you're asking, when should I use WebSocket? You know that first, whenever you're doing any chat app, you're using WebSocket. Whenever you're doing anything that requires live data, let's say you're pulling coin prices or whatsoever, you're going to make use of WebSocket. Now let's proceed and get right into the code. So Django Channels extends Django to handle WebSockets, chat protocols, and more by using ASGI, Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface. Now we're going to configure Django to make use of channels on what we call Daphne, right? So these are packages. I always tell you, always reference your channels, your documentation. So you can literally just check out the name of the, let's say, Python channels, or maybe Daphne, and then you should see the documentation. So this should properly guide. You can look through it and see a guide on how you can actually go about creating this. So let's proceed. So I would be able to do it without checking here because I've done it over and again. So I've gotten so used to it. Now let's dive in. So first thing you would want to do is to install pip install. I'm going to install your channels. I'm going to install your channels. So I think I have that installed already. So from there you can do your pip install Daphne. Then after you've installed those, the next thing is to include it in your settings. Now Daphne is built on top of channels, so we can just have Daphne included in our channels, in our installed apps rather. That's this. Then after adding Daphne, the next thing is that you're to tell Django that this is the ASGI I want to work with. So this my project and then files, right? So you can also notice that we had this before now that comes automatically with Django. Now this is what we're going to use because we're going to have to work with ASGI, asynchronous gateway server gateway interface, right? So let's proceed. We have this. Then the next thing we're going to tell Django that this is the channel setting I would like you to use. Now you can actually use quite a couple to for your channel setting, right? But since we're in development, we're going to look at something we can do now. And while you advance in your career, you're going to learn to use Redis. So let's have it backend channels Redis, or rather, channels dot in memory channels layer. So this is what we're going to use for this test, right? So having told Django that this is what I need you to use, now there is the Redis, like you saw I had put here, but we're not doing that for now. So we'll use this because we're in development, right? So from here, the next thing to do, remember we're calling this file. So since we're calling this file, permit me to remove this. But here, what is configured here is actually to use one request type, which is HTTP. However, we want to include WebSocket, so we need to customize this. So we protocol type router. So we have going to include a HTTP to utilize the get ASG application. Then we're going to include a WebSocket, right? So I have auth middleware stack. Remember, you have to import these. Then you're also going to have your URL router, of which we're now going to call a WebSockets URLs. So this is already marking red, telling you that we need to do something about it. So we're going to create this WebSocket URLs. And to do that, we're going to go to our post and our app where we want to have this created. So we're going to create a file named routing by convention. Then we add the URLs for our WebSocket and paths. Remember how you do your URLs usually. Then we're going to have WS, then chat, right? Then from there, we're going to have what we call consumer, where you write the actual code responsible for that, right? So when you're making sure, remember we had as view, but here make sure to put as ASGI. So let's import this URLs part. So we have to create this, and we're going to create it inside a file that would call consumers. Python file consumers. Now we have to declare that class consumers. Oh, this to make sure. Then we're going to inherit. Sorry, we're going to inherit channels async WebSocket consumer. Then from there, we need there are actually about three things to take very conscious of within your consumers. You have your connect, you have your receive, and then you have your disconnect. So this tells the consumer what to do when either of these happens. So when you connect, it means the first access to your consumer. So what do you want to do there? Now, in this case, we would want to accept the connection. Now, there are more complex things to this, but the more you advance in your career, you get to utilize most of them. And let's just do the aside accept. And also, this is asynchronous, so we have to await it. We'll keep it simple. Then we have async def. Let's have disconnect here. And we're just going to pass it. We don't want to perform anything, but usually you would want to return a response code to properly guide. Then we have the receive. Then this part is what's actually responsible, or this is actually what holds the data that's been sent from the client. Now this is text data. We're going to convert this to normal Python dictionary. So we're going to have text, that's a JSON rather. So we're going to have what we call, or we're going to convert it with JSON dot loads text data. Then we're going to collect the message within this. Let's import this.